confirming overnight Russian fighter jets have intercepted U.S. drones flying the skies over ISIS in eastern Syria on at least 3 occasions. This as Russia continues its bombing this morning from warships. Those strikes helping pro-Assad forces take out ISIS positions, but also still hitting U.S.-backed rebel forces. This as we learn Iraq may be next to get Russia's help against the terrorist group. Iraq says it welcomes Moscow's help to take on ISIS, which would create more tension between President Obama and Vladimir Putin. To date, though, that has not happened. In Iraq, that is. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is running for president on the Armed Services Committee. With me now to Washington. Senator, how are you? And welcome back here to America.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Here is the quote from our folks at the Pentagon. The first time it happened, we thought the Russians got lucky. Then it happened 2 more times. How dangerous is this, Senator?
Look, it is extraordinarily dangerous, and the tensions between Russia and America are only escalating. And sadly, this is a direct manifestation of the weakness of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy, leading from behind. This is what it produces. And we've got a reality now that Vladimir Putin not only doesn't respect the President of the United States, but he considers him a laughingstock. And that is profoundly dangerous for America and the world. And we're seeing the chaos in Syria and the chaos in Iraq is also a direct consequence of the failed foreign policy of this administration.
Let me go through a number of things. You heard what the President said last Friday at the White House. Have at it, Russia. We tried, we failed. Have at it. You'll be there for a long time. Is he right about that?
Look, of course he's not. And this is what happens. You know, if you look at leading from behind as one of the most honest characterizations of the Obama-Clinton foreign policy, America recedes. And so Russia is stepping in and taking advantage. You know, I'm reminded of former Democratic Senator Scoop Jackson's characterization of the old Soviet Union. He characterized them as a burglar who walks down the halls in a motel jiggling the door handles to see what's open and to go in and rob. In this instance, Putin is being opportunistic. There's an opportunity to go into Syria to strengthen his position, to become a dominant force in the Middle East. And that's possible only because America is so weakened that it's created the opportunity for them to do so. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is our friends and allies are getting the message that President Obama is not a reliable ally, and at least Putin, you know what you're getting, and our enemies are learning that America can be trifled with. There's nothing to worry about there, but Putin's far more dangerous. That is very bad for America and for the world.
Deal with what's happening right now. We can debate decisions of yesterday. What should our role be now there? And what should our role be in cooperation, perhaps with Russia? Are we now finding ourselves moving toward that direction or not?
No, I don't think so at all. No one in their right mind would believe Putin's assertion that he's there to help go after the terrorists. You know, Obama did, but it's only because he's hopelessly naive. Listen, Putin is supporting Iran. Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. It was sadly to the surprise of nobody that Putin's military began bombing the so-called moderate rebels that we spent hundreds of millions of dollars training because his intention is to boost and to prop up Assad, who is a puppet for Iran. And that is not furthering U.S. interest. Now, you ask, Bill, what should we be doing? We should stop engaging in the fiction of trying to find these moderate rebels and support them. We should stop the fiction of trying to bring together the Sunnis and the Shias to put down their arms and embrace like brothers, and instead we should defend U.S. national security interest and do what works to defeat ISIS. Now, what would that mean? That would mean, number one, using overwhelming air power to target and destroy ISIS. But number two, we ought to be arming the Kurds. The Kurds are on the ground. They're fighting. The Peshmerga, the fighting forces of the Kurds are terrific fighters. They're strong allies of America. And yet the Obama administration refuses to fund them because it wants to send the weapons to Baghdad, who's not using it to defeat the terrorists. We need to focus on what works.
We've been having that specific debate for a long time. Politico this morning talks about the president urging strategic patience with Russia. Says Vladimir Putin is playing a psychological game. Is there truth to that?
Well, he's right. Look, Putin is playing to win. And Putin is not a complicated man to understand. He is essentially a KGB thug. You know, Putin very candidly said, in his opinion, the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century. And I think what Putin is attempting to do is systematically reassemble the old Soviet Union, expand Russia's influence. We ought to be standing up to Russia. Now, we don't want to do so through direct military conflict. No one in their right mind wants to see a shooting war between the world's two leading nuclear superpowers. But what should we be doing? Well, when Putin invaded Ukraine, I called on President Obama to do two things. Number one, immediately install the anti-ballistic missile batteries in Poland and the Czech Republic that were scheduled to go into effect in 2009 that Obama canceled in a failed effort to appease Putin. And number two, there were at the time 22 applications pending to export liquid natural gas. Putin uses energy to blackmail Europe and to fund his military aggression. The president should have approved all 22 of them, export our natural gas to help people stand free of Russia's blackmail and to hit Putin where it hurts. In the pocket.
Well, once a spy, always a spy. The psychological game continues. I want to pivot quickly to two other topics. Do you have a problem with President Obama going to Oregon this week to console the community in Roseburg?
Oh, look, he is welcome to go anywhere. Now I would note, you know, he didn't come to the funeral of Deputy Goforth in Texas, who was murdered, and murdered because, in significant part, of the escalating rhetoric from President Obama, from the Attorney General against law enforcement. He doesn't seem to stand with the brave men and women, the police and firefighters and first responders, and instead he's vilified them. And with regard to Oregon, listen, our heart goes out. Every one of us should be lifting up those families in prayer for the victims of that horrific crime, especially as facts came out that it appears this shooter was targeting Christians for their faith. It is all the more horrific. But it's sad and cynical that the president's response and Hillary Clinton's response is to immediately try to politicize this, not to go after violent criminals, which is what we should be doing, but instead to try to go after the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. I think that's wrong. I think it's cynical.
We'll see if this visit involves politics or not on Friday. Now, quickly, hard turn here. You're trying to move in the polls. It really has not happened just yet. Are you satisfied with the state of your campaign today, Senator?
Well, listen, beyond satisfied. I'm incredibly encouraged. The momentum we're seeing on the ground. This week we rolled out county chairmen in all 171 counties in the first 4 primary states: Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. No other Republican has that. Our grassroots support is enormous, and then our fundraising. To date, we've received over 350,000 contributions. In the last 2 quarters, we outraised every other Republican candidate, as people all over the country went to tedcruz.org, contributed, signed up, volunteered. And I got to say, I'm incredibly encouraged, because what we're seeing is conservatives coalescing behind our campaign. The moderates are fighting like scorpions in a bottle. But conservatives are coming together, and I could not be more encouraged by where we are.
You've got a ways to go. I know you know that. We've got a ways to go in this campaign also. Senator, thank you for coming back here. It's been quite some time, but welcome back to America.
Thank you, Bill. Always good to be with you.
You bet. Ted Cruz there. Thanks.